Yo, Thought Warriors.
Oh.
So much happened. What is up? Higher Learning is on. Is Ivan Lathan Jr. You can take the little IFB thing off.
Oh, yeah. And
we just did an interview.
And it's me, Rachel, and Lindsay.
We did an interview with Maureen Edobor. She's a constitutional law professor. We talked to her about the Supreme Court decisions that went down.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, this actually crept up on me. It's the time of year. This always happens, right? Into June, right at the top of July, you get the most controversial decisions, the ones the court holds out on before they take a break. But I forgot until even when we talked about this on Tuesday's podcast, it didn't even hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, it is that time.
Yeah, the court time.
It's just a lot of stuff going on all the time.
They sneak it in the summer. They want to come in there and do their racism. They want to crack down on us and stuff like you.
Not
you
just
still,
racism, all the.
You still believe in the court. You're still a court believer. You believe because you have to because you're dad.
Well, yeah, but all levels of the court.
Right.
Like, we'll talk about it with the professor when she comes on
here with all levels of the court. You believe in the courts. We
have to have a judicial system.
Yeah, I mean,
but it needs to change.
Yeah.
Like it's extremely problematic. Yeah. They're contradicting themselves. Like they're liars. They're liars. It's almost laughable at the lengths that they will go to in these opinions to defend something to align with their political beliefs or their moral values, or their values, I should just say, rather than what's good for the people or what's right or what precedent says. Let's talk about the hat.
What about it?
I don't know if I've ever seen you wear something designer. Now, when you told the story on the podcast about the hat, it wasn't Gucci.
I got two hats.
Whoa, let's talk about it.
I got a Givenchy hat and I got a Gucci hat.
Where's the Givenchy?
It's at the house.
How do you feel? You been getting compliments?
I mean, nah, it's just the hat. I wanted I love the bucket hat life, but I wanted a bucket hat. I have an everyday bucket hat. I want a bucket hat I could wear out a little bit. And so I got a couple of bucket hats. I decided to, do the bucket hat today.
I think you should put it up a little more. Like you have it a little far back. It's a little, right?
Right,
Jay-Z?
But you know what? Because I looked at was niggas who wore bucket hats in the past. And like I identify with almost all of them. You know who wore a bucket hat?
Who?
Inspector Gadget.
Da-na-na-na-na.
And let me tell you guys something right now. This podcast is basically Inspector Gadget. It's a guy that is doing all of this histrionics that people think is the person that's solving it when there's a smarter, more complicated, competent woman who's actually making it go. I am the Inspector Gadget of podcasting. Look at me, and then she makes all the sense. No, Inspector Gadget. So like niggas with bucket hats in the past have been actually like kind of trustworthy. Think of one that wore a bucket hat that you didn't like.
I don't know. I think you're
Donnie?
right. I'm not going to argue.
Can you think about it? Can you think about anyone who's been in the bucket, who's been in the bucket life that was a villain?
No, when I'm Googling famous bucket hat wearers, the first one that comes up is Gilligan from Gilligan's Island, and I hated that show.
Oh my gosh, I loved that show.
But see what I'm saying?
Loved Gilligan's Island.
Gilligan was the man. Now I don't count a Kango as kind of but maybe if you count the Kango.
You don't count that as a bucket?
Okay, well, if you count that as a bucket hat, then you got LL Cool J as well.
Yeah.
Who really is the first hip hop superstar. You know what I'm saying? No, nobody can rap quite like I can. I take a muscle bound man. And then LL took the bucket hat through eras. And actually, here's the thing about LL and his bucket journey is he had the hat. And then he took the hat off. And then when it came back to LL at the end, when he went on the Atkins diet, do you remember Atkins diet, LL?
Did he go on that?
LL, throughout the entire 90s, always was a body guy.
Buff. Yeah.
He was buff. But then something happened in like 2001 or 2002 when LL came back out and he wasn't just buff, he was shredded. And it looked like he went on a no-carb Atkins kind of situation. It's Atkins LL.
Was it around Headstrong? I feel like that's when he was...
It was Headstrong Paradise LL. It was Headstrong. Remember, did I ever meant to hurt you? Laugh together, cry together. Lord willing, we gonna die together.
He said, Lord willing, we gonna die.
I never understood the Lord willing, we gonna die together part. When you say
like you grow old together. That's how I took it.
But I get it. But when you say die together, do you mean like at the same time? Because that's tragic.
But I just think you meant grow old together. I did. Yes, I hear you.
That never happens. What happens is one person checks out like 6 or 7 years before the other person. Not
necessarily.
And then, well, you think people like they die exactly some notebook shit?
Sometimes,
even in the Notebook, I feel like she died slightly before he did, because he found her dead. Didn't she die? No,
they went
to sleep, and then they both
she
did wake
remembers
up together.
him. He gets in the bed with her. They hold hands, and they wake up, and they're gone together.
So, I've always had a thought there.
Which was
he poisoned her. I've always had a thought.
You're adding things that are not there. There's like no reason to even make room for that.
But they die acutely. Okay, they were both old and they were having a conversation. Then they just fucking die.
Have you not heard of the whole thing when a woman dies first, or when a woman's like really sickly? A man usually, unless he gets married quickly, like will die very quickly after, like from a broken heart, like without. So I think that was weighing on him. The stress.
That shit is 6 months to a year.
No.
When that happens, this nigga checked out.
Have y'all seen this?
Hold on. Have you seen the Notebook? This nigga they checked out at the same time.
Do you remember what happens before that though? They have this huge moment, and she's like, she's like, I remember, and he remembers, and they're crying, and it's so emotional, and then immediately she can't, and he is broken over it. Broken. Right. I think that
got to him.
Was the catalyst.
They were married in real life, that couple. That was James Garner and wait a minute. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. Well, here's the deal though. Was the couple?
Rachel
I think
McAdams.
they were, because James Garner played.
No. Rachel's the young James. We're talking about the older couple.
The older people. Like James Garner did a lot of shit. I don't think he was actually married to in real life. That woman might have been, because the actress was also very famous. Was that Nick Cassavetes' mother? In the Notebook?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So they definitely.
I don't know why I know that, but
Nick
that is
Cassavetes, his father was John Cassavetes.
Gina Rowlands. Okay.
And so so I apologize to her. She is not just the lady from the Notebook. She's been doing a whole bunch of amazing shit her entire life. She's passed away now. But so when I just back to the bucket hat thing to kind of put a bow on this whole thing, LL is also a bucket hat connoisseur. He's had all different kinds. And when he got into the Paradise level of his career, he brought the bucket hat back because he actually left bucket hat life in the 90s and was just wearing a ball cap. FUBU ball cap, different types of ball cap, but then he brought the bucket back.
I love that you're so well versed in this. Listen, you're in good company.
Yeah, come on, man.
Do you like my slides?
What kind of slides are those? Nike?
I am not a slide wearer.
Kobe?
Y'all like them Gen Z approved?
Kobe slides?
I am not a slide.
Look like the first Kobe Adidas.
I am not a slide wearer.
Remember
but
Kobe
I'm
Adidas?
Obsessed with these. These are super comfortable. I would tell you to put your hand in them. They're Nike.
I want it.
They're Nike.
I don't want to put my hand in it. Let me put my hand where your feet were. What kind of disgusting shit you want?
Look at the bottom.
No socks.
So then,
what you trying to say? Thank you.
I got socks on right now with my slides.
That's how I know you're a real nigga.
These are super comfortable. You actually don't.
If you a
need
real
socks.
nigga, you wear
These
socks
would
with
look
your
crazy
like
with socks,
if they're
in my opinion.
closed-toed, I'm for sure.
They're closed-toed.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey.
But they like slides.
This is an interesting question. I'm not a sock wearer in slides. These are so comfortable. You would not want to put socks on with these. Okay. Because I see the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
About to be my whole personality. I'm obsessed with these.
Where'd you get them?
From Nike. They're Nike. They're Nike.
I felt like somebody would have gave you those.
Why?
Because you get a lot of shit given to you, then you put the link.
I put my outfits on a link on my stories. Yeah. Not necessarily stuff given to me. Sometimes.
We have a lot of news. We have the Supreme Court, obviously. We're going to talk about that. LeBron James has left the Lakers. There was a Jaylen Brown trade that Jaylen Brown was criticized for being smart. Barack Obama.
I feel like that's not the first time we've heard that.
Barack Obama weighed in on slavery and slave owners and slave peoples. We'll talk a little bit about that. I also want to pitch something to Rachel and ask Rachel a question later on. I want to pitch you a special episode of Higher Learning. I also want to ask you a question that leads into this weekend, which is not just the 4th of July, but the 250 of the United States.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question, see what you think.
Okay.
Ask the Z Corner as well. I want everyone to weigh in on this question. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But Donnie, get us started.
All right, let's start with one of the stories you teased in sports. There's a bunch of changes happening in the NBA with free agency having just started. One of them is that LeBron announced that he's not returning to the Lakers. He hasn't decided on where he's going to go yet, but it won't be in LA. You're a Lakers fan. What do you think about the new look of your team?
You mean the white boy shit?
Being a lot of white players.
So let me tell you something. Look, here's the deal. The Lakers, if you play well, that's all I care about, right? Now, it is kind of crazy to go out there and everybody from the Quakers.
He's like, no, you on the white. It's the white. It's the white. You can't get past it. You can't get past it now.
Lamorne called them the LA the snow time Lakers. Lamorne said that they're like the LA Quakers and all that stuff like that. The Wakers, all of this stuff. I only legitimately care about how good they play. So if Walker Kessler, Mamu, and the rest of these guys come out there, Austin Reeves is re-signed. Shout out to Austin, Reggie Berry, all the people over there. If they play well, I'm with it. It's funny. It's funny, but they look like a bunch of niggas that John Wick tried to kill, like John Wick villains. That's what they look like. The Lakers. Now I'm good with it. I don't have a problem with.
You think they're gonna be good with that starting lineup?
What
do you think?
Some of the decisions made are interesting, right? So if you look at what happened with the Lakers this season, you have they brought Walker Kessler in. Luke Kennard is gone. Rui Hachimura looks like he's gone. Marcus Smart is gone. LeBron James is gone. There are some players in there that you wonder what the fuck was going on. And I'll talk about Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart comes in after a career where he's played really well, Defensive Player of the Year, was a real huge part of the Celtics culture for a long time, but actually has like a resurgence in Los Angeles, right, with what he's able to do. And you feel like if Marcus Smart is not going to be a Laker next year, that he must be going to get a bag from someplace, right? That's not what happened. Marcus Smart, I think, signed a 2-year, $13 million contract. Somebody looked that up with Houston. Now, he has Ime Udoka there, who he was with in Boston, so that might be a reason he would go there. But it's not like he got broke off to leave the Lakers and go to the Rockets. When you look at some of these other guys that they're not bringing back, they're not bringing back Rui, who's fantastic for them. They're not bringing back Luke, who was phenomenal for them at different times, particularly once Luka was injured. Like, it would seem like 2-year, $13 million contract with Houston Rockets, Marcus Smart. It would seem like what you would want is go out and get that 3-and-D wing, get somebody in the middle that Luka could deal with. It looks like he likes Walker Kessler, and then you would run the team like that. But that's not what they did. They went for a weird white overhaul, and they let out a bunch of guys who had already been contributing, so I don't know.
But has that been, Lakers are not my team, but has that not been the story over the last several years of the management with the Lakers? Hasn't that been a critique from fans of who they've brought to the team, maybe who they've overpaid for, rather than like building a certain team around LeBron? Hasn't that been some of the talk? Or is this not kind of in some of the decisions that were made just as of recent in line with how the team has been managed over the last several years? I
mean, yes and no, right? So they were able to build a team of LeBron James that was good enough to win a championship, albeit a championship. In the bubble, okay. But still, though, that team was an elite NBA team before that. I would say, if you're being your most cynical, the time off between the pandemic happening and the bubble is probably the thing that helped them the most. I think that team probably still is the best team in the NBA that year, but you don't know. They're older. Anthony Davis gets hurt a lot. LeBron James was getting older. Would they have gotten injured up and nicked up on the way to that title and not been playing as well in the playoffs? But I still think that team at its best probably wins the NBA championship that year. Even though a lot of shit happened in the bubble, it was weird. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But they still, around LeBron James, was able to go put, Caruso, Anthony Davis, brought in Dwight Howard, Ron. They were able to put a team around LeBron James, at least at that point, to go out and win a championship and be really competitive. That's this same group brought in Luka Doncic, and Luka Doncic is there now. So the question is, how do you build around him? Well, you can't build around him and LeBron James at the same time. You're probably going to have to get one guy out of there. And now they're building around Luka. But what I don't understand is some of this stuff is work they had already done. They'd already brought in guys a couple of guys at least that were good Lakers, right? When you go back to Luke, when you go back to Rue, when you go back to Marcus Smart, you feel like you get rid of a couple of different pieces, bring in some new pieces. You address some of the athleticism concerns. You address some of the three-point shooting. You address some of that stuff, and then you take it away. But Quentin Grimes, a small guard, like Colin Sexton, all of these guys.
They traded Jaylen Brown. Why did they do that?
That's Bill Simmons. You guys are hearing from right now.
Still upset.
Still pissed about it.
Still upset.
But anyway, so you say all of that shit, and it's like, I don't know what the direction is. Who knows?
So, as a Laker fan, did you think that this was LeBron's last year? Did you feel that was going to happen?
I was hoping that it was.
For him or for your team?
For everyone involved.
Okay.
Yeah. So for everyone involved.
That's a safe answer.
I was hoping for everyone involved.
Okay.
It was like, but I'll be honest.
Do you think that
they was first? I wanted LeBron gone. Yeah.
Do you think that because you said they can't build the team around both Luka and LeBron, do you think that it really was LeBron's decision to leave?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it was really
Now
LeBron's decision to leave. I think
because Rich Paul's saying the decision came down to happiness.
Well, yeah, but the reality is, whose happiness? This is the deal.
No, he's saying
Here's the situation with LeBron James. Here's the situation with LeBron James. LeBron James is not everybody's player. He's not. He can't. It's impossible for him to be. I don't care who you are in the NBA right now. And I mean this for any player. I mean this for Jokic. I mean this for SGA. I mean this for any player. Save maybe one. If LeBron James is in your locker room, it's his locker room. And it doesn't really matter how much better you are than him. No one is close to LeBron James in cultural significance in the NBA right now. Nobody. No one. It's a joke. Steph, maybe. So if LeBron James ends up in Golden State, then you can make the argument that LeBron James is joining Steph's culture. But even then, you got two big dogs sitting at the table.
Yeah, it's
together.
weird.
You got two big dogs sitting at the table, right? But if LeBron James is in your locker room, he might not be the number one basketball priority in the locker room. He might not be the number one organizational priority in the locker room, but he is the number one cultural priority in the locker room. The player that's the biggest deal culturally in the NBA, to me, should always be the best player on the team. Always. If you have an incongruent team, if the player that's the biggest deal culturally is not also the best player on the team. Because what that means is that the best player on the team has to make cultural space for the biggest cultural deal on the team, and the biggest cultural deal on the team has to make basketball space for the best player on the team, and that ain't gonna work.
So with that mentality then, where does LeBron go? What's being thrown out there? Golden State, Cleveland, Miami.
Well, it's up to him. But
I'm saying to your point, using that like what you're saying, because it makes a lot of sense. Which of those, if those are the top three choices, right? Because we know that he's not necessarily chasing the max contract at this point.
Right.
I think happiness means a championship for him. So
you think so?
Well, what else does it mean? What do you think that means? I mean, when I hear happiness, I don't think he doesn't have to. It's not money. To me, it means a ring.
I don't think it means a ring.
So then what does it mean to you? A nice city, a fun city?
I think happiness means to him legitimately the situation where he's not under a ton of scrutiny. So look.
Why would you? I don't know. We're speculating.
Obviously, LeBron James would love to win another ring. I would imagine he would love to win another ring. But the most distasteful thing for him to do in all of this would be the ring chase.
But I don't think that it's never going to be couched as that. My opinion is, so if it's not for a ring or for competitiveness, so you're just going to play another year on a team, with people you get along with, your friends? Like, I don't understand what would be the motivation if it's not, because they're never going to say he's going to chase a ring. Like, at this point, that would never be the narrative. But I would imagine that that's truly what it is. So what would be the motivating factor to choose a team then? If it's not money, if it's not competitiveness, what is it? A good time?
So I really do think that that's what it is. And so let me tell you what
So where is he going?
So I have no clue. We have a podcast here that should be trading in this, and we'll see what they say. But right now, there was two most anticipated podcasts ever. One was Bill today when he was talking about Jaylen Brown and the whole trade. The other one is everybody going to be waiting to see what Rich and Max say on Game Over about where LeBron James is going. Let me tell you what I think, and I don't know LeBron James. I've talked to Rich Paul and like a couple of times, but nothing on this, like never. They're not going to do that. But let me tell you what I think. I think the most important thing about all of this stuff is that LeBron James does not want to stop playing basketball.
That's true.
So that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So legitimately, what place has the most upside for him playing basketball? What is the path of least resistance to him as a basketball player to where he can still go do this thing that he obviously still wants to do and do it without people breathing down his neck and it being a pressure cooker? If you have Luka Doncic on your team, people are going to be like, we're in Luka's prime now. The Lakers need to be competing for championships. Luka needs to be competing for MVPs. The question on that team is not how LeBron James is going to be sent off. The question is, how good can Luka Doncic be? And so Luka is going to be pressed. We going. Let's do it. Let's do it. Make this team like I want it to be and all of that, because I can't have my career be a washout. That's a lot for somebody who at this point just want to hoop. So there are a couple of places where you can just hoop and be competitive, and there are a couple places where you can just hoop. If he went to Golden State right now, that's a just hoop decision. You would have LeBron, you would have Steph, you would have maybe Draymond if they re-signed him because he opted out, and you'd have a situation where people would just have fun watching them play basketball. And if they made it to the playoffs and they were healthy, people would be like, oh my God, who's beating them in a 7-game series if it was LeBron and AD and all of these guys together. But also, if it broke down by March and everybody was hurt and there was nothing, nobody would really give a shit. People would literally look at this like, look how cool this is. And that's kind of the situation you almost want to be in if you're him, because he can't be the best guy on the championship team anymore. He can't be the second best guy on the championship team. I don't think LeBron James, he probably can be the third best guy on a championship team, right, at this particular. And look, that's still probably the best 41, 42-year-old guy we've ever seen. That's still incredibly impressive. I think if he wanted to stress it, if he wanted to play until he was 16 point a game, LeBron, he could probably play to about 45 or 46 if he wanted to. But the pressure of being that guy, I don't think is a part of the happiness component. I think the happiness component is just let me hoop so I don't have to go into the basketball abyss because I'm not quite ready yet.
Agree to disagree.
You think he wants to win another ring?
I think he wants to be competitive. He's an athlete. I don't think he just wants to just go somewhere to keep playing. I do think that's a part of it. I do not think he's ready to retire for sure. But I believe within that, he also wants to be on a team that is competitive. Absolutely.
I think he wants to be on a team
that has a chance to win the ring.
I think he wants to be on the team that is relevant.
That too.
And there's no such thing as an NBA team that is relevant and not competitive. So I get that.
So we're saying the same thing.
But what I don't think, though, is that LeBron James, because if it was about winning a ring, LeBron James would say, hey, I'll come off the bench for the San Antonio Spurs. Or LeBron James would say, I would come, like,
he wouldn't have to come off the bench there.
Well, I mean, they just signed Tobias Harris. So he wouldn't necessarily have to come off the bench. But if it were just about, I want to go and be a part of something where, like, I want to chase one last ring, because can I be honest with you? We can get off this. The last ring that he gets is not even gonna matter.
We're on LeBron watch, because I'm really curious to see how this plays out.
Give me a teams right now before we get off this. Give me teams right now LeBron James could go to win a ring. So I mean, Denver,
Miami.
So
Miami's on option. Giannis is there, but we don't know what that looks like yet.
If you go there, right? If you go to Miami is reconstructing a roster, and they don't have a ton of money to spend. Yeah. So if you think that LeBron, Giannis, and Bam and Wiggins, you add LeBron James to that, maybe But at the same time, if you go there, you are not the guy there. So this ring that you win is not even going to be viewed in the same way. This ring is for history is just another. It's a Wikipedia stat. No one's gonna care. This ring doesn't really.
I don't agree with this.
Hold on. If LeBron James goes and wins a ring as the
in
second,
Miami,
if LeBron James goes to Miami or goes to any place where he's going to be the second or third best guy, that I could argue that diminishes him in an argument with Michael Jordan.
You can argue that,
even
but you're
like
also
a Golden State.
If he goes to Golden State, right? These rings that people get, like Robert Horry has 7 rings or something like that, right?
It's 7.
Right.
There's a song.
He has 7 rings, right? When Robert Horry is having a conversation with Charles Barkley, the only thing those rings mean to Charles Barkley is that Robert Horry can look at Charles Barkley and go, ha ha, nanny boo boo. He can't compare to Charles Barkley. If LeBron James goes and wins another ring on a team where he's not the man, I would suspect that people would be like, Jordan never had to do that. Well, Jordan never had to and not
Jordan,
even just Jordan.
It's already different. Like they already have different stories as far as their legacy because one was loyal to a team, one goes from team to team. So like the story is already different. Nobody looks at LeBron like, oh, he's that loyal player that stays with the team as they do with Jordan. It's already different in that. I just think I think this is interesting. I disagree. I think that when you talk about somebody being culturally relevant, which is obvious LeBron, like you said, like hands down, that still makes him the man on a team to me. So I feel like I could make an argument for him going to Miami. He's still like the man.
The only problem with that is that the Lakers just told him to go ahead and leave.
Well, that's what you said. That's not what he said.
No, that's what happened. This is what happened. LeBron James was
also they're not in the conversation for winning a ring.
LeBron James is he's the man culturally, right? But he wasn't the basketball guy. So that there's a lot in your locker room with that. They clearly decided that they were moving on with Luka, which they would be stupid not to. Luka's 27 years old, and the averaging 34, 35 points a game or whatever the fuck it was, like leading the league in scoring, first team All NBA. Luka's that's the guy that you want to continue, right? You want
for sure. He's the future.
Like he's the future. Franchise. He's the now. So really,
the now.
Like wherever you go, so LeBron legitimately just could not override Luka Doncic in LA. If he goes to Miami, he's a complimentary player to Giannis Antetokounmpo. If he goes to Denver, he's a complimentary player to Nikola Jokic. If he goes to San Antonio, he's a complimentary, at least from a basketball standpoint. From a cultural standpoint, he dwarfs all of those guys, which is why it's a precarious situation. The thing is, everything that you just named about LeBron James going around and chasing stuff, every time he went to the new place, he was the focal point of the place. Mm-hmm. He went to Miami, it was let's build around. The man in Miami took a backseat to LeBron. Dwayne Wade, who was already there, took a backseat to LeBron. Kyrie Irving, who was already in Cleveland, took a backseat to LeBron. Everybody that was already in Los Angeles took a backseat to LeBron. Mm-hmm. For LeBron to go to a place now and take a backseat to win a championship, I'm sure he wants to compete, but he's now in a legacy Mandingo fight with Michael Jordan, and that just don't help it that much.
I'm so interested to see.
Yeah, I'm interested to see too. Because I'm interested to see what's the happiest place for him to hoop.
Yeah.
Probably.
But shout out to him for wanting to find happiness. I hope he finds it. I hope he gets it.
Do you think it's interesting? Never mind.
No. Ask me, please.
No.
Please.
No. Because we don't know this. And look, and everybody who has said this, remember this. Once you done in the NBA, you done. And everybody that has this conversation, including myself, has to understand that, like, you ain't never really seen your face on the Jumbotron like that. So saying to somebody else who's been on the Jumbotron, who's held up the MVP award, who's been to the places. You ever see that video where LeBron's dancing and a girl comes over to LeBron and LeBron does like he's basically snaps his finger and tells his man, like he tells his man, like, deal with this. Like, turning that off, everybody feels like, oh man, just lead the game. go be a dad and a husband and a tequila salesman and all of that stuff like that. Just cut the switch off. Your light switch and his light switch ain't the same.
Yeah, who's saying that?
Your light switch turns off your kitchen and your living room. His light switch turns off the fucking crypto arena. His light switch turns off the American Airlines arena. His shit turns off Madison Square Garden. It's tough to hit that motherfucking switch.
Yeah, of course it is.
So like, being that that's the case, what I was going to say is the other thing for happiness would be to find happiness off the basketball court. Mm-hmm. But it's clear that he's not quite ready to do that yet. And people that criticize that haven't had to make that decision.
Oh, yeah. I don't understand people criticizing that.
Do you have any thoughts on the Jaylen Brown trade? You guys know this? Where's Bill? Get Bill in here. Like you have any thoughts on the Jaylen Brown trade?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I guess I'm a little surprised of the trade. I get surprised in some of the conversation, like you already alluded to it, where it's like he's too smart, or the analytics reports that people are talking about, just like the conversation that people are allegedly having behind closed doors about Jaylen Brown, almost to like a smear campaign. Mm-hmm. A little surprising, but Boston's not. I mean, neither one of these are my team, but yeah, just.
Jaylen Brown was traded to the Phillies.
I saw you have to tell
2 first,
Chris,
2 seconds. Yeah,
I saw that one. That was nice that you were here able to capture that.
Crazy trade. I waited till Talk to Thrones was over.
But you knew a trade was coming.
No, the trade had happened. Fucking Chris didn't know.
No, I'm saying, but we knew that this was being talked about.
Well, we knew that it was being talked about, but here's the deal. They kept looking around the league. And it looked as if
they were trying to say he didn't have like value, like all that conversation. That to me was more of the shock. Like, oh, he doesn't have value. Oh, he's this. And it's like, why are we on this whole smear campaign with Jaylen like this?
Apparently that was right. Apparently he didn't have much value
because of what the actual trade was. Is what
they traded him for Paul George.
That's 2 first round picks. Yeah, it's first round picks.
But those first round picks are going to be Philly's first round picks, and Philly now is going to start presumably. This is always a presumably because you never know with Joel Embiid. Philly's going to start Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown. Like that's going to be a strong team if healthy. If healthy, the Phillies are going to be the Phillies. The 76ers are going, it's baseball, baby. The 76ers are going to be a team that's going to compete at the very top of the East. So those first that you got ain't going to be shit. Unless it goes terribly in Philly, unless Embiid fucking gets hurt, then all of this shit gets fucked up and they can't win at all. Them first ain't gonna be worth a motherfucking thing, right? So like those picks are nothing. They traded him for Paul George, 36-year-old Paul George who played decently in the playoffs. It's a historically bad trade. It's like one of the worst for Boston. Yeah, it's like one of the worst trades. But they felt like they had to do it, which tells you 2 things. 1, they felt like they had to trade him.
Yes.
And 2, they didn't get a lot of good trade offers for him. They didn't want to come off Hugo. They wouldn't want to come off Shireman to get Giannis, which seems fucking nuts. But Bill is one of these fucking crazy Hugo people. Like that nigga Hugo got to start averaging 40 quick. Hugo Gonzalez must average 40. Okay, it needs to happen quickly. They didn't want to do that for Giannis Antetokounmpo in Boston. And everything that you heard Jaylen Brown might go to Atlanta. Jaylen Brown might go to Portland. Jaylen Brown might go to Houston. Apparently, none of that shit was twerking. None of it. So they made this trade.
We don't know why.
Well, it doesn't matter why.
I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily mean all the things people were saying were
No,
true.
It means that he didn't have a crazy market. If he didn't have a crazy market because the niggas thinks that he's smart, or because if you guys are telling me right now
that's crazy
that Jaylen Brown didn't have a crazy trade market because he thinks he's too smart, suck my dick.
Yeah.
What y'all want me to like? So look, Jaylen Brown thought he was the smartest guy in the room. What the fuck? Like, yeah, he's smart. He went to Cal. You know what I'm saying? Like, he thinks if you're telling me he's some sort of asshole, then that's one thing. But
yeah, I feel like that's what they were trying to say.
It's like how dare this big black buck?
No, I'm with you. It's ridiculous. You know, that's why I'm calling it a smear campaign. It's like, what? Oh, he's smart?
This guy thinks he's you using these big words around us, Jalen. You're not supposed to use these words around us. Put the ball in the hole, nigger. Like, what the
Shut
fuck?
up and dribble.
Shut up and dribble. Get the fuck off his dick, man. The nigga's eclectic. He's an eclectic guy. He's a curious guy. But I can tell you one thing, when he looks across the lines and he sees somebody else that thinks they're as good as him, this is the thing about Jaylen Brown that I fuck with more than anyone. Jaylen Brown sees somebody on the other side, and Jaylen Brown in his head goes, it's a GERD. That's acid reflux from Rach right there. Jaylen Brown sees somebody on the other side, and Jaylen Brown goes, this nigga think he better than me. No, sir. You're not better than Jaylen Brown. And then Jaylen Brown locks up, and then he goes crazy. Does it
It's
always?
the kind of person I would want on my team.
The type of guy I would want. Jaylen Brown locks up, and Jaylen Brown goes crazy. Yep. And the advanced analytics might have his on off, all of that shit like that. I get it. But when it comes time to fucking compete, like Jaylen Brown goes, I know you don't think you better than Jaylen Brown. And then he goes crazy. Jason Tatum didn't say anything for him. Step up. I'm telling you, man, light skins, bro. You don't.
Wow.
You
it always comes back. You were trying to work your way to it.
You just put your faith in them. And then you need something. You get traded for Paul George. Man.
I hope Philly is fantastic. That might be my new favorite team. Somebody tell Bill.
Your new favorite, you just going.
Why not?
Well, that's not how you're supposed to do it.
Why not? I don't have a basketball team. I don't have a favorite team anymore.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, it's not the Mavericks anymore?
It hasn't been Mavericks for a while.
Why?
They blew up my 2011 team. It's been a long time.
They blew up the 2011 team.
Yeah, the championship team. It hasn't been the same.
That team was so fortunate to get there.
Doesn't matter. We did. Okay, we did.
They won.
I know. And then it wasn't. And then everybody went their separate ways. That hasn't been the same since.
Teams.
I know. So that my team.
But Luka took it back to the finals, man. Gafford, Lively,
Luka,
Kyrie. All of them.
I don't have a favorite team until now.
And now your team is Philly. You like that shit?
Sixers. I'm coming back. You know,
Philly is team dark skin.
I used to be.
It's dark skin.
I used to be. You know, I had all the AI stuff. Yeah. I'm back. It's a full circle moment.
Philly versus Sixers. Boston. Hold on, something just dawned on me. Philly versus Boston is light skin versus dark skin. Animus.
This is your dream,
bro. Boston is team light skin. Boston is Derek White, fucking Tatum, and now they got Paul George, who's a red bone / high yellow, right? They got rid of Jaylen Brown, and now Philly got the Dark Knights. Philly is the Dark Knights of the NBA.
What did you call Paul
Maxey,
George?
Embiid, fucking Jaylen. They the Dark Knights, bro. They the dream chasers.
Don't you love how in real time he's unlocked this? And
I didn't think about this before. Like, they called Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum, the front office probably asked him what he thought about Jaylen Brown. They're like, get his black ass out.
Not done. That's funny.
I can't believe this motherfucker. He thinks he's going to take my team.
Man.
Ship him out.
This is perfect time. I'm going to Philadelphia, too, next week.
You going that bitch looking for Jaylen Brown?
I'm going for the MLB All-Star weekend. But I'll get a jersey while I'm there.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm back.
The Dark Knights.
I'm back.
My brother's a diehard 76ers fan.
Me too. Me too.
Excited.
Let's see if we can get CR to answer the phone.
Me too.
Let's see if we can get CR to answer the phone. Hold on. Chris Ryan. Let's see if we can get Chris Ryan to answer the phone. If we can get Chris Ryan on the phone, I want to know what he thinks. Hold on. Chris Ryan. Let's see. Is he going to pick up? Chris, pick up. That's my guy.
What's up?
Chris, you're live on Higher Learning right now. This is Chris Ryan. You're live on Higher Learning. I want to ask you a question. What do you think about Philly versus Boston as light skins versus dark skins? Hear me out. So Boston,
hang up, Chris.
Boston has Tatum.
Hi, Chris.
Boston has Tatum. Boston has Derek White. Now they have Paul George. Think about Philly. Y'all the Dark Knights. Edgecombe, Maxey, Embiid, Jaylen Brown. What you think? Light skins versus dark skins. What are your thoughts?
Whatever you say, man.
That's a smart man. That's a smart man.
Okay. All right. Real quick before you go. 7-game series with the way the teams are currently constituted right now. Philly versus Boston. Who will win?
I think the Philadelphia would.
I think they would win too. And
that's
they won
my
last
team.
year. Rachel says that's her new team. She loves a Mandingo.
Come on in. The water's warm in Philadelphia.
Oh, shit. That's the fuck I'm talking about. Come on in. It's warm. All right, Chris. Appreciate you, bro.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Bye.
Yeah. Come in.
Is that his team?
Sixers. A lot of people stay loyal to the teams that they're from.
You ain't from here?
Yeah, but I lived here for 2 years.
And I am loyal.
I lived here for 2 years when I was a kid, and that's when I became a Lakers fan.
I am loyal. Cowboys.
Oh, you are. That is.
Yeah, I am quite loyal.
For a second. You got to be loyal.
Thank you. Thank you.
You got to be loyal. That's like being in a relationship with Jeffrey Dahmer.
I wonder how soon I can get my Jaylen Brown jersey.
You like that nigga. You know, O manages him, right?
Really?
That's an Aronde client. Shout out to him. Shout out to Jaylen Brown, man.
I didn't even know he had athletes. Okay, good for O. Great, I'll get tickets.
Let's do some politics.
All right. Kamala Harris. She is reportedly strengthening ties with Mayor Zoran Mamdani as speculation grows about her potential presidential campaign. There's also multiple reports that she has been meeting privately with other progressive leaders, activists, and people in the Democratic Socialists of America as she works to rebuild relationships within the Democratic Party. What do you guys think about Kamala Harris's strategy?
You think she's running for real?
I think she's going to try it out. I think she's going to try it out. I mean, she could have obviously been the governor. She'd have washed everyone of California.
I don't think she should have done governor, but
well, she didn't want to do governor. I think it would have been a great thing for her to be the governor, but she obviously didn't want that. So unless she is going to pivot to something else, it seems as if she's going to continue her career in public service and run for president. This tactic is really interesting if true.
This made me feel like she's running more than ever. Before I was kind of like, we're just kind of floating her name around because nobody else has really declared yet for some of the other front runners that we know will definitely throw their name's in the hat. So I understood the conversation being around her, but this makes me think she's definitely running now. Definitely. And I think it's interesting too, not because of 2024, because of what we talked about on the last podcast. You've got moderate Democrats, putting up their letter, signing it, talking about DSA and progressives in such an extreme way that doesn't unify the party. And then here comes the story with Kamala Harris reaching out, not being critical, I think it's interesting, not being critical, not joining on the side of some of the Democrats that are established, but reaching out to Mamdani, which again shows his power in all of this, and having conversations with other progressives. It's interesting.
Breathtakingly smart strategy by her, if true. These are reports. But if true, let me tell you why it's smart for her doubly to me. Number one, it gives her the opportunity, at least rhetorically, to begin to mend some of the wounds that existed after she was part of an administration that underwrote a genocide. And Kamala Harris or anyone that would come from that administration would have to speak directly to that and about that. Talking to Mamdani or the DSA is not the way to do that. It's to engage with the people here and engage with people who are affected by this and who have done this work. And I'm sure, I don't know anything about this, but if you were sincere about doing that, that's what you would do, right? And there were mistakes that were made. And so Kamala Harris is going to have to remedy those things in order to get any type of, credibility back on that particular issue. And so if she's talking to these people, she's talking to this wing of the party, maybe perhaps that's part of it. That's part of her her want to do that as part of that. But also, they're up. They're popular. They got momentum. Right. So from the standpoint, not just of politically, but like, how are you guys doing what you're doing? Like, no one else from the center of the party seems to be willing to reach out and talk to you guys and make you a part of this so-called big tent. I will. I might. What advantages that can I glean from you guys? And also, what counsel from someone as politically successful as Kamala Harris might you guys need? Might there be some way of communicating that you guys are not open to or haven't been that I can give to you? And might there be something that I learned from you guys, which to me, in a true Big Ten, is what would happen?
Well, and to add to that, I also think that it puts her ahead of the competition. So, of course, people are initially going to, well, the first seed she planted with this and separating herself was in her book, right? She talks about Biden. He's a proud Zionist. She talks about how she maybe tried to talk to him to get him to see the other side of it. But he believes what he believes. So she planted the seeds in the book. But this also puts her ahead of anybody. If she decides to run in 2028, it puts her ahead of them. Because if people try to question her sincerity, it would be too late if she waited till closer to announcing that she was going to run. The fact that she's doing it now, she can say, for the reasons of the things you're saying, I'm seeing what's happening. I'm listening to the people. I'm watching this movement. I'm watching the energy. I'm learning from the past. I started doing this. I was proactive in doing it. She could make an argument more than the people that are coming who might also run in the 2028 race, assuming she runs as well. That's what I also think is smart by this. She'll be able to point to more of a sincerity in what she's doing rather than just it looking totally like I'm just trying to win your vote.
Well,
and still people will think that regardless, but she's ahead of the competition.
Number one, this story, who reported this? Who reported this? It's Axios, right?
Well, this comes from the Post, but I don't know who originally.
Axios and Politico. Who did the original reporting on this? Like, you guys find that out.
Axios has had a full breakdown of it.
But just okay. So here's the thing. This story coming out is interesting too, because this story coming out it's telling me that Kamala Harris wanted people to know that she was doing this.
100%.
Right. So the fact that she wanted people to know that she was doing this means, like, this in and of itself is a political move. She's courting the DSA. She's courting Mamdani. Yeah. She's seeking, at least with her name and her reputation and her standing with the center of the party, which is she's in pretty good standing or has been in the past. She's seeking to legitimize them or with that group of people, right?
That's what I'm saying, as opposed to the headlines we were talking about earlier this week.
Right. So, number one, this could be a thawing of the relationship between the DSA and the center of the party, which I don't think it's going to be, because once again, I believe that fight to be existential for the center of the party. For any left of center organization or left of center political momentum, just once again, I've already said, just destroys the center of the party, because they no longer will look serious. Mm-hmm. Like, they just won't look serious anymore. Mm-hmm. You won't look serious taking corporate money. You won't look serious underwriting the genocide. You won't look serious saying we're for health care for all, but we're not really willing to fight for it. Like, you won't look serious anymore if people believe that there's a cohort to your left that is serious. You just won't look serious. Then your donations dry up. Then your power dries up. Then you either have to become them or become something else. Yeah. So that's an existential fight. But Kamala Harris doing this is very interesting, because she's either saying we don't have to have that fight, or she's saying she's willing to fight to the left of where she was before, which would be a really interesting development if that happened. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible.
I mean, in 2020, when she ran,
Axios first reported, which means it was definitely leaked.
Yeah. When she first ran, the first time, she was more left of where she was under Biden. So because remember it was all she's flip flopping. Which one is she? Which one is she? So if she's leans toward that, it's almost going back to kind of how she originally started this when she ran for president the first time.
Well, Kamala Harris, in her own campaign, had the opportunity to either distance herself from some of the stuff that was going on, or make the case to America how she would have done things differently.
Yeah,
a lot of times she neglected to do that. On The View,
The View was the moment.
But I will say this, though.
It doesn't really take it back in the book, but keep going.
I will say this, though. Doing that while being the vice president of the United States is precarious. Doing that while being an active part of the administration. Not saying you would do things differently. She should have answered that question better. But being a critic of the administration publicly while inside of the administration, I'm going to admit that that's a tough situation for anybody. Of course,
but I think there was a way to answer it where you don't shit on Biden, but also recognize that you are two different people at the end of the day.
I think they should have thought about that more. Okay. Barack Obama was talking a little bit about slave times, George Washington and stuff. Did you see this?
I saw.
Donnie?
Yeah, he did an interview with MS Now and talked about the complexities and contradictions in history, and had this to say about George Washington.
And I think sometimes we get confused in thinking that these two stories are completely separate. They're intertwined, right? And which is why it's possible for me to be a great admirer of George Washington, and also acknowledge he was a slaveholder. Mm-hmm. And that does not negate his greatness. It simply acknowledges that there's a profound, deep flaw in these founding fathers who were also geniuses and gave us these tools. And which is true of all of us, right? It's true of every president. It's that we're this mixed bag. We got contradictions. And embody the country's contradictions.
Wow, you're disappointed. You're disappointed.
I'm not going to rage about it. It's just more of like the softness in the way we're talking about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like what I had to say the last time I talked about someone from that family and how it was a little bit.
Oh, Michelle Obama.
Yeah, and how it was a little bit.
What?
It was a little soft in the phrasing.
Soft.
I would like to think that he misspoke when he said great admirer. I would like to think that that's not the word that he meant to use, because I guess for me the question then becomes, what does it mean to admire someone, and how was the greatness of George Washington established? What did he have to do to become great? Who did he have to overpower? Who did he have to enslave? Who did he have to torture in order to build his greatness? Whose back did he literally have to whip and stand on in order to build the greatness that we talk about now? You can't separate that. You can say factual things and recognize them. He was our first president. He fought in the Revolutionary War. He was a great a general. He was a part of laying the law and as a founding father. Those are true things. But to say you admire someone means you revere them. You have deep respect for the things they did, for what they value, for their morals. And so to me, again, we talk about there's a way to say things and there's a way not to say things. You can't separate the fact that before he was the president of the United States, he was the president of the Constitution Convention, which established that Black people were 3/5 a person, right? For taxing and counting the population in order to establish like the House of Representatives and stuff like that, and how people were represented in different states. He was a part of that. He presided over that. You can't separate that. I'm never going to call that person an admirer. And you can go down a list of things in order he did to protect his wealth, to protect his property. And I'm not talking about his house or his land. I'm talking about slaves, things that he established with his power as president in order to keep Black people in their place so he could be great. That is not somebody you can call an admirer. And there's, again, a way, without being redundant, to talk about what George Washington did and separate that as something that you look up to.
Well said. I'm going to talk a little bit about George Washington in one specific case here in a second. But before I do, you realize that, like, so Obama's one of them.
A president.
No. Obama, yeah, he's a president, but this is uncomfortable for us to do. And I get that people, like.
What do you mean one of them? Who's them?
Okay, so let me tell you. Let me give you an example. So we just got through talking about, like, LeBron James and all these people. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the thing that I was trying to, like, articulate with too many words, as always, about LeBron James is that LeBron James retiring from his job is not exactly the same as the rest of us retiring sometimes from our jobs. Sometimes we can do our jobs longer. But if you've been someplace and 30,000 people have been screaming your name, come on. Like, that's a thing. Like, that these guys, you have to go from being a king, whatever, to a dude every single night in and night out. All of that stuff is tough, right? Mm-hmm. The reason why I say that sometimes, it's like I want people to remember that when we're putting these frameworks on people, that they're not us. And I'm not saying that they're better. I'm saying it's different. Like, that's a specific culture, and that's a specific thing, and that's its own thing that you have to turn off. Obama's one of them. Obama admires, like, George Washington. Of course he does. Of course he admires him. Like, he's way more George Washington than he is Vanner or Rachel. Like, it's not even close. Rachel, like, way more. Like, he's way more George Washington than he is me or you or anybody in this room. And he would have to be, because he became the president of the United States of America. He would have to be. Do you understand the life of service that Barack Obama has led? Mm-hmm. Do you understand that Barack Obama, I think this is actually, to me, it's interesting because the criticism of Barack Obama that comes from the right is inverse of the criticism that comes from him from the left in an interesting way. So the people on the right believe about Obama the same thing that you actually believe, a little bit, if I'm reading you right. They believe that he couldn't possibly be one of them, that he couldn't possibly be or have the love or the belief in America and country that most people like Obama are assumed to have in order to get where they go. And we're hoping that that's actually not true, and then they're saying that it can't be true. But the reality is, it is true. The reality is the belief in America that George W. Bush had to have, the structures and the systems of America that George W. Bush had to have, that Ronald Reagan had to have, that Bill Clinton had to have, that all of these people have, that we criticize all the time, Obama has them. So when you're asking Obama about an American president, Obama's going to go, yeah, look at that guy's a genius. A lot of the frameworks of the country and the precedents and the America's belief in the rule of law, like America's belief in or supposed belief and adherence to the rule of law and to the Constitution, all of that stuff. Those are things that are probably deeply and profoundly important to Barack Obama, right? And when we talk about those things, we're normally talking about them from a critical standpoint. Law rights we didn't get, laws that don't work for us. People who believe in that, they look at the brilliance and the operating efficiency of that system. And they go, I think I can make it better. But the first thing you have to do is kind of submit to it. And so when I'm listening to him talk about George Washington, I'm listening to him. I'm listening to a guy that's in the club talk to somebody who's out of the club about somebody else who's in it. Like, like within your friend group, you got people within your friend group that other people don't like, and they criticize those people, but they're one of you. So there's a way that you talk about them. Obama is defending not just George Washington's identity. He's defending his own because, just to be real, he had to JSOC people, extrajudicial killings of terrorist targets. He had to do some of that stuff. Some of the stuff that a president has to do, some of that stuff that a president, that he feels like a president has to do, that you have to be involved in it, he had to do it. Like not slavery stuff, but at some point somewhere, a group of people were sitting in a house and there was a guy in that house that was a terrorist or a suspected terrorist, and Obama dropped a fucking bomb on their head and killed everybody that was in that motherfucker, the children too. And those are decisions, once again, just like I can't tell people that it's easy to make the decision to leave NBA basketball. I can't believe I'm comparing these things. I also can't tell people what types of decisions have to be made in promotion of national security, in the interest, should I say, of national security. Like, I'm not going to act like I can sit back and Monday morning quarterback going in. I can tell you that those things are against my morals and my values, and I wouldn't want to do them. But I'm not the president. And I don't know that I believe in the American system enough even to be involved in that type of thing. I believe in a different system. I believe in something that could be rather than necessarily something that is. And this has to do with the question I'm going to ask you later. But like, this is like one of his guys. Like this, legitimately, people would say there's no possible way a guy that looks like Obama and has the experience Obama can believe in America enough to be president. And then we're hoping that he doesn't. But the fact of the matter is, he does now, he always did. Like, this is another frustration that we have when we're talking to our friends that are deeper into this. Like, obviously, some of the people that we've had on this, like a conversation between me and Bakari is interesting. Bakari is, like, me and Bakari were talking one time, and we were talking about America's interest in the Middle East. And I was like, I don't give a fuck about America's interest in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. I don't fucking care about America's interest in the Middle East. Bakari is somebody who, from the framework of his mind, right, is a political person. So he thinks that America being strong in the Middle East is better for Americans in other places. He doesn't believe that because he's cynical or because he's a warmonger of some sort. He believes that because that's a part of his framework as being somebody that's involved in that type of stuff. So when I know that I'm talking to him, just like I know that when I'm talking to people that are to the left of me, they go, let's burn everything down and live on a commune. Mm-hmm. They go, let's control the means. And I'm like, hey, I'm not quite there yet, but I realize that I'm not even them. But I definitely know I'm not Obama. So when he says that, I always go, how will people respond to that? But he didn't misspoke. I think he was being very, very genuine.
I don't think he's more like George Washington than he is. I think that I understand your point in the sense that I think that there's a commonality, there is a commonality that they have as being presidents that they share, and that makes them, there's a similarity there, things that a president has to do in order for country or constituents, or you would think that they have to do. I'm talking about George Washington on what he was doing also personally for himself, laws that he was making that would benefit himself personally, like the fugitive slave law.
I'm talking about it. Let me ask you a question.
But
how many people have you killed for political reasons?
No. That's why I said I believe there's a commonality. Obviously, the answer is 0. But I'm saying there's a commonality with him as a president, things that you end up doing or that are a part of being a president, like that happen, right? Which is what your point is when you're asking me how many people that I've killed. Whatever you just said. But the difference I would say, which is why I don't say he's more like them than me, is because of his lived experience as a Black person. And this is what I believe. Say what you want. We can agree to disagree. I'm just not agreeing with George Washington. We can agree to disagree, and I know we will. I'm just saying that I also look at people, what I believe to be their intentions and their motivations for doing something. And to me, George Washington and Barack Obama are never going to be motivated by the same things because of their different lived experiences to run for political office. That is my opinion. We can agree to disagree.
Right. Okay, a couple of things. Barack Obama's even lived experience as a black person is different than yours.
Everybody's black. Because we're not a monolith.
Of
right?
course.
I'm not biracial.
Of course. But you're assuming a commonality because of it, though. So what I'm saying is
because of how he identifies.
Right.
Yes.
So we're saying that. So it's an interesting kind of. Sometimes what we do is we say, hey, his experience must make him closer to mine, but I understand that his experience is different than mine.
I'm also listening to how he expresses himself, but yes, like how he represents himself. And which is why I said what I said. No. I was like, I would like to think he misspoke. That's what I said. But he said it, right? He called him a great admirer, and then he talked about his greatness. He said it twice. That's just me saying, I wish I said that. I said, I would like to think that. And then I go on to talk about how problematic it is. Right, but I think that to your point, it is because of the commonality that they have as being presidents and what that requires and things that you have to do and execute. I am saying when you say, but he is more alike in general, like him than me, is where I disagree with you. Right. That's what I'm saying.
So just so we all know, he said that. He said all presidents wear a mixed bag. He said all presidents, we have to do things. We have to do. He said that. He said we, and the we is him and George Washington.
Yeah, he's president.
So when I say that he's more like George Washington than he is like us, I'm not talking about the fact that he know Al Green lyrics or the fact that he went to a black church or anything like that. I'm talking about two things. Number one, the fortitude of his belief in country, which he probably has more in common with George Washington than he does with me. And he would have to have that. It would be almost malpractice for a president not to have that.
Yeah, a politician.
You'd have to be, but particularly one that achieves, you have to be a dyed-in-the-wool granite patriot, which people don't want to believe that Barack Obama is.
For sure.
Right, but he definitely is. Like all the stuff that he says about all that stuff, I believe it. There are also some things in Obama's history that suggest he is to the left of a lot of these guys, and there were some things like that even suggested that Barack Obama wanted to take a different relationship or a different tenor on even something like Israel than other American presidents did, right? But he didn't. Like at the end of the day, he didn't. And so when I say he's more like George Washington than he is like us, I'm not talking about like on race or anything like that, or even in his personal life. I'm talking about the fact that if it gets down, Obama in that clip is trying to convince us to have some compassion for George Washington.
You think compassion?
Nuance at the least. Nuance at the least.
Yeah, I wouldn't say compassion.
He's taking up for his guy. He is. No, am I tripping?
He's both siding it is how I took it.
I don't like,
because he's like, yeah, we can acknowledge, which is why the right had something to say about that comment, totally different. And then we're saying something different about it. The right was mad. They felt like he was smearing the like two people heard a statement, or two groups of people heard a statement and took two different interpretations. This is why I say he both sided it, because they think that he was smearing the founding fathers by mentioning the fact that you can recognize that they're slaveholders. And we're looking at it like, how the hell are you going to say that we should have fucking admired George Washington? So I think I wouldn't say compassion. I feel like he politicked it. He both sided it.
And the reason
why, I think that's a problem.
And the reason why is because they think he's one of them. We think he's one of us, and really, he's one of them. He is part of a class that those people aren't a part of. He's part of a class that we're not a part of.
Yeah.
He's part of a class that is very specific, that we continue to try to identify with. We continue to see our morals and our values and our cultural norms in this particular class. Those particular class of people, like Barack Obama hangs out with George W. Bush. Barack Obama Barack Obama and his family have a fuzzy relationship with George W. Bush. Mm-hmm. I blame George W. Bush for the death of thousands of black people. I don't want to be around George W. Bush. My job that I lost at TMZ, I lost that job at TMZ because I got in an argument over people treating George W. Bush with furry, fuzzy, whatever, Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah. And then everybody was telling me I was tripping. I got mad and flashed the fuck off, lost my job in front of the...
But verbally.
On the URI report. Yeah, nothing happened on that.
We want to be very clear. Verbally flash the fuck off.
They smeared me.
Yeah.
They smeared me. But at the same time, if Barack Obama has a president problem, he might call an ex-president. Like he might get with an ex-president. He understands. He is one of those guys.
Who would he call? Which president could he call that would, you know what I mean? Like who's before?
This is my point. My point is my point is, and you know, we belabor it. I'll get to what I was talking about. But my point is, I just thought we got an interesting thread. Is like, we obviously we agree. We can agree to disagree. But like, I feel like in our sort of inability to sometimes understand that actually leads to arguments like we had like last week or the week before with everyone around Crockett or Tallarico or anything like that. Like we start having conversations where we count people as part of our cohort because they look like us and because we have a connection to them. When the reality of that situation is in that clip that we just watched, Obama was talking about slavery to black people. Remember, Obama is also not, just so you know, to my knowledge, the descendant of enslaved people. Okay? But like, just Obama is talking about that to black people and with George Washington. I'm not chiding him for it. I'm saying he's talking with George Washington on that.
Yes, I will the only thing I will say is in relation to our conversations that we had before and how people need to start talking about it, it would be different if I looked at that and I was like, he clearly misspoke and I left it there. I can listen to that interview and how he spoke and not be afraid to say he was wrong. And that, to me, is a conversation that sometimes, and we talk about this, that we are not having. We have to be able to call out things that are problematic and not say, well, I have to I can't say that because of the way that they look. Or we have to be able to listen to the gravity of or the weight of what somebody is saying and how it can impact us rather than focusing just on who's saying it. If that made sense.
It did make sense. All right, I just want to say one thing before we move off of this, because I was going to do a whole thing about it, but I'm not. But, okay, so George Washington.
No, you should mention this stuff.
Loved slavery.
And I don't want to hear that narrative that at the end of his life he changed his mind. I cannot fucking stand that.
Like, George Washington loved slavery. Loved slavery. He was a big, big, big fan of slavery, guys. Like, he liked it. And the life of one woman is indicative of this. Now, our audience is like super duper
smart,
educated and smart. So even like a lot of the Haiti shit, niggas was like, man, you ain't putting us on shit.
I actually saw a lot of people that wrote me that were really grateful for for your breakdown. I
appreciate it.
And at least even for the acknowledgement of it. Even if they understood it, it was the acknowledgement and taking the time to do it. So continue.
But there is one story of one black woman that is indicative of just how far George Washington went for slavery. Her name is Ona Judge. She was Martha Washington's personal assistant, personal attendant. She's a skilled seamstress. She grew up at Mount Vernon. She grew up there, basically raised inside of the household. Washington became president. He relocated to Philadelphia, and he brings his enslaved people with him. Now, this next thing is one of my favorite George Washington tidbits. Okay. Pennsylvania law at the time said that 6 months of residency meant automatic freedom. So Pennsylvania was trying to get rid of slavery. There's a lot of northern states that were passing stuff that were trying to limit slavery. So if you stayed in Pennsylvania for 6 months, you got freedom automatically. That passed that law. Washington moves from Washington to Pennsylvania. Okay, cool. He knew that. Washington and his people knew that. So while he's the president of the country, he's shuffling his slaves in and out of state lines every 6 months. So, like, Washington would take some slaves on a trip below the Mason-Dixon line or wherever to reset the clock on their slavery, then bring them back. Okay? Loved slavery. Loved them. Like, this is a premeditated act to continuously hold on to the institution of slavery. In 1796, Ona figures out that she's being given away as a wedding present to Martha Washington's granddaughter. And this woman was apparently like cruel. She was mean. She was like a lady that Ona Judge didn't want to go work for. So while the Washingtons are sitting down at dinner, she escaped. Ona Judge left and disappeared out of the front door. She disappeared into what was Philadelphia's Free Black Network, catches a boat to New Hampshire without telling anyone. She just boom, gone. Mm-hmm. No secondary plan, no nothing like that. She's out of here. You would think that in that case, George Washington, champion of freedom and liberty, would be like, hey, we lost one. Like, you can't, slaves is basically like Pokemon to him. And
he had hundreds, by the way.
We're going to catch them all, including her. He uses the government to hunt her down. You guys think that I'll be making this type of shit up? He did. I know that our audience knows a lot of this, but I'm just reiterating when we were talking about George Washington. He sends an agent after her. He sends her nephew after her. She is like legitimately living a life. If there was any type of, we would have been got Kerry Washington in this role if we were thinking, if we could tell the truth about our founding fathers. She is asked by people on the street, if you are in fact this woman that the president is looking for. She says no. But she's telling people also around her that she would rather give her life than to go back and work for Washington. But the president himself was using federal resources, was using his power, his cultural power, to pursue a 22-year-old woman. He dies in 1799. She's still legally his property. She's a fugitive for the rest of her life. She's considered a fugitive. Never legally free. Just not caught. Okay? She marries a black sailor, has 3 kids, and lives in poverty in New Hampshire, dies free in 1849 after 50 years on the run from the president of the United States of America. Obviously, he wasn't president that entire time, right? But she lives a life in secret, basically in hiding, trying to outrun the clutches of George Washington. So when we talk about these guys being products of their time, they weren't just products of it, guys. They were believers in it.
They created it.
They were believers in it. They believed in it. They believed in it. Like, I could go into a whole situation about Jefferson. Jefferson was a product of the Enlightenment. So all of the people that had come before Jefferson talked about the natural rights of man and all of that stuff. Jefferson actually, as a private lawyer, defended a couple of people, defended a couple of freedmen, right? But the question that you should always ask the people that are supposedly your allies is not whether or not they believe in something, but whether or not they're willing to pay for it. Like, what does it cost you? You believe in the freedom of men, but what if it costs you your slaves? What if it costs you economically? Are you willing to pay the cost of freedom for somebody else?
Yeah.
And these guys were not going to do that because that's not what they believed in. They didn't believe in that. They didn't believe in any of that stuff. And so there are legitimately lives that are on the other side of that. Of course, we know about Sally Hemings' life, raped by Thomas Jefferson for, however, you guys call it the greatest love story of your time or whatever. I just know that Thomas Jefferson allowed his children to live in slavery. So he couldn't have loved her that much, right? So all of this stuff, and that's, I know you guys know that, but all of this stuff, when we're talking about this, we're not talking about, these things are both grand, but they're also like quaint. They're also like specific. There's viscera there. There's stuff that gets on you. There's all kinds of stuff around that. It's gritty. It's real. So this is in no way to kick Obama's nuts. Like I'm still comforted by the sight of Barack Obama. And I probably always will be comforted by the sight of Barack Obama. But I'm not a fool. I'm not. And I'm not a fool. We disagree, and I think you made a very, very compelling case. I'll end on this. Do you know who Brian Scalabrine is?
No.
Brian Scalabrine is this gigantic white person who used to play for the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
And he became kind of a meme. Even though he played for the Celtics for a long time. Scalabrine. I actually like Brian Scalabrine. He would do this thing where he would play. Ginger. He would ginger, yeah. Like Brian Scalabrine, yeah.
White Mamba.
White Mamba, they called him, yeah.
Okay.
Scalabrine would do this thing where he would play random guys that would talk shit about him because he didn't have the most successful NBA career, right? And what he would tell those guys is he would say, I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me. And then he would play them. And he would prove that I don't give a fuck how nice you think you are. It's a different type of nice in the NBA. Barack Obama is closer to George Washington.
Go ahead. That's what you want to end on. Go ahead.
Barack Obama is closer to George Washington than he is to me.
Okay.
We just everybody. Me and Rachel disagreed, so don't put it on her.
They won't.
When y'all get,
but they might agree with you. But they might agree with you.
All right, don't put it on her. Okay, let's take a break real quick. All right, guys, we have somebody that's coming in that's going to talk to us a little bit about con law, legal eagle situation, and the Supreme Court and all that kind of stuff. Her name is Maureen Edobor. And she's going to be on the podcast. We also want to talk about how she speaks about higher learning in the streets.
True.
Okay, the Supreme Court is back up to their old tricks. And their old tricks are giving out decisions. What do you call it? Rendering a decision? Because it's not a verdict when the Supreme Court does it. What is it?
It's not a verdict.
What is it called?
It's a decision.
It's a decision. Supreme Court decision. I am one of their main ops and haters. Rachel loves the Supreme Court. But we wanted to get somebody on to help us make sense of these decisions. So we brought on Maureen Edobor, who is with the Brennan Center for Justice, an assistant professor of law at Washington and Lee University School of Law. Teaches and writes about constitutional law, voting, and elections. Was the policy director and counsel for the Congressional Black Council. She joins us on Higher Learning today to help us understand these verdicts / decisions / whatever. Maureen, thank you for joining us.
It's really good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, an interesting time to be a constitutional law professor. I say this all the time. I cannot imagine being in law school right now with everything that seems to be coming down from the Supreme Court. I'm going to start with birthright citizenship. Because although, we knew this decision was coming, it's that time of year where we get some of our most controversial decisions before the Supreme Court takes off. And I think majority people thought, okay, the Supreme Court will uphold the Constitution when it comes to birthright citizenship. But a lot of people were surprised how close the margins were. Starting there, it's 6-3, but technically, I guess if you look at what was written, when you take what Justice Kavanaugh put in there, it really is kind of 5-4. So what to you do the slim margins say with this decision about where the court is today?
That's a great starting question, Rachel, and I appreciate it because I've been reading a lot of news about the Supreme Court's birthright citizenship decision, and many people are praising the court. They're proud of the court for doing the right thing. But when you dig a little deeper into the reasoning and you read the majority and then read the dissents, something really troubling comes to the fore. And it's that, the court might have done the right thing in this instance, but the dissents are setting up the Republicans effectively to create policy around limiting birthright citizenship to people who are legal permanent residents or people who have some sort of like legal right to be here in a way that is completely contradictory to the purposes and intentions of the 14th Amendment. Most troublingly, there are clips going around about Justice Thomas walking through the Rayburn House office building. Supposedly he might have been meeting with some people, or maybe he was just taking an afternoon walk. But the questions that come to my mind after seeing that clip and reading his dissent is that he's making an argument that the 14th Amendment's birthright citizenship provisions are really race conscious, and they were for the Reconstruction moment. They were only for the children of the enslaved and for the enslaved to become citizens. And, we've stretched birthright citizenship beyond what it was, intended for. And that is actually just a fiction. It's complete fiction, and it's preposterous. I mean, you could go back to 1855, predating the 14th Amendment, and you would find that, for example, in Massachusetts, there was an impoverished Irish mother. She was a citizen of Ireland. She came to the United States. She had a child here. Massachusetts deported her. There was wild, massive outcry. The concept of birthright citizenship predates the United States Constitution. It predates the creation of the United States. It's something that colonists, carried with them across the Atlantic as they came to the United States from the British. In many senses, the 14th Amendment is a codification, a constitutionalization, I guess, of ideas that Americans already understood to be sort of natural. You're a citizen of the place in which you were born. So the revisionist history surrounding the majority opinion, which is like almost the shortest part of the sort of the entire thing, it's troubling. And I think it points to policy that will continue to attack naturalized citizens, continue to sort of try to strip citizenship rights from people who should have them. And even more, the 14th Amendment was, it was enacted to take out of politics this idea that, the winds of politics can determine whether you're a citizen or not. That is something that the framers of the 14th Amendment did not want to happen. They wanted to take it out of legislative hands. And so, yeah, I guess it's a win. Yeah, we should celebrate. We should be happy, but there's something troubling underneath it all.
Yeah, I feel like a lot with this court in particular, when you look at the dissents, I'll say, from the conservative right-leaning side, you get a lot of insight into how they really feel, and almost as if it feels like a roadmap for other people to say, okay, we lost here. Now I'm going to challenge for this reason because this is what the court is thinking. Like Kavanaugh kind of like talks about the 14th Amendment one way, but then talks about it. And maybe you can explain this a little bit, almost as if like, well, Congress could make policy. You kind of touched on it a little bit. He alludes to Congress could make policy to change some of that. And then also this call out from about Clarence Thomas in regards to Justice Brown, Ketanji Brown Jackson, where she's saying he uses race when he's always talked about a colorblind constitution, but in his dissent, he uses race in order to talk against the 14th Amendment and the protections that it provides. Can you talk a little bit about that and the contradiction in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Justice Thomas wants to have it both ways. If you recall the Students for Fair Admissions decision, he wrote something that was really vying to be the main dissent, in which he argued that the Civil Rights Act, the Freedmen's Bureau Acts, they were all actually race neutral. And they were race neutral because they promised, the formerly enslaved, they promised Black Americans the same rights that white Americans had at the time. And for that reason, it applied to everyone equally. And even more, there were white refugees who benefited from the Freedmen's Bureau Acts, et cetera, et cetera. 3 years later, we're reading a different history from Justice Thomas. So, it's really confounding. It almost points to a sort of conclusion-driven law office politics, right? Like, is it that the Reconstruction statutes were race conscious or were they race neutral? The vast majority of academics argue that they were race conscious. So perhaps in this sense, Justice Thomas got it right in arguing that it's race conscious, but it's very troubling the way in which he contradicts himself and his position on the particular statutes in the Reconstruction era that were really drafted and aimed to help the formerly enslaved.
Mm-hmm. Do you read this as the court leaving it open for Congress, the president, whomever, to make policies surrounding birthright citizenship that then they can rule if constitutionally challenged doesn't violate the 14th Amendment? Like, was there almost some instruction given that, hey, we're saying that this is ironclad in this regard, but there are things that you could do to still stem the tide or restrict citizenship that wouldn't be in violation of this amendment? Is that too cynical?
It's not too cynical. And in fact, I was just listening to something earlier this morning from like moderates regarding the fact that, you know, there are maybe some open questions regarding whether Congress could pass a law that says, you know, to obtain birthright citizenship, you must be, you know, domiciled with the intention to stay here, like adding some sort of definition to what it means to be a natural born citizen so far as the parent's status.
How would they do that?
You know, even man, I mean, perhaps they would just write legislation, right? But also, you know, going back to elementary school, Congress can't really override the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has reaffirmed that time and time again. So, you know, perhaps it's really a battle between the Supreme Court and Congress, like we saw with the Voting Rights Act and what Section 2 means. Perhaps like that's the next iteration of this. But ultimately, the final arbiter of the Constitution is the Supreme Court. It's not, you know, the Republicans in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. And if the founders wanted to add a domicile restriction to the citizenship clause, they would have done that, right? They had every opportunity. They were really smart people. The Republicans loved talking about the founders. Immigration was a thing at the time that the Constitution was being written, certainly the Reconstruction amendments. And so it would be interesting to see how the court would deal with legislation like that. But it seems to me that, at least symbolically, like we probably will see attempts at legislation to cabin the meaning of what birthright citizenship means.
Can you? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Can you explain? You mentioned domicile. Can you explain a little bit of what? Because Justice Alito kind of talks about this subject to the jurisdiction of versus domicile in his dissent, and almost saying how, well, he says that this is a serious mistake on behalf of the court, and talks about this versus this. Can you talk a little bit about and explain that, because that's kind of an argument that's being used and towards people having dual citizenship or even birth tourism, as we've seen the far right use as well. Can you speak to the difference between the subject of jurisdiction of and domicile?
Yeah, I mean, so the concept of birthright citizenship comes from like a Latin term, meaning the Latin term is jus soli, meaning the right of the soil. So if you are born in a certain place and there's a certain person in charge of the place that you are born, a certain nation, you are a citizen of that nation, regardless of if you want to leave, stay, whatever. Justice Alito is really trying to play some semantic games, as well as make legal arguments that suggest that, you know, if you come here on a temporary visa, a visitor's visa, and you're pregnant and you just so happen to have a child, but, you know, you got a plane ticket back, like in what sense, you know, are you subject to the jurisdiction of the United States necessarily? I think it's a weak argument, and I'm now sort of trying to explain it, sort of helping me understand how weak it is. But there is something to this idea that if you don't have the intention to stay, right? If you don't have any kind of like legal recognition in the United States, perhaps it's appropriate using the words of the Constitution to render the child you have here the citizen of the place you came from, because you had an intent to go back. But again, that's a really weak argument. It's an argument that goes against common law. It's an argument that goes against the understandings and the history and tradition and practice of people in the United States going back to colonization. It's an argument that, you know, the British Crown would have rejected. It's not a strong argument. The words domicile, legal permanent resident, parent, whatever, that's not in the 14th Amendment. again, the people who wrote it were relatively smart. So if they intended for that to be the meaning of the 14th Amendment, it would have been, but it's not.
So, I mean, before we get to some broader questions about the Supreme Court, what else happened that was of note that you feel like people aren't paying enough attention to? So the birthright citizenship thing was the headline, but there were other decisions rendered as well that felt like losses in terms of a progressive culture of society. What are some of the other decisions that you feel like people need to be paying attention to?
Yeah, I think the campaign finance decision is something that people should pay attention to. I mean, we're all having this conversation about the two-party system, how inadequate it is, how Democrats don't feel like the party's listening to them, how people are experiencing representational misalignment, which is this idea that the person who represents you is not acting in your favor. They're not voting in your favor. You do not feel represented by them. And even more, I don't know if you all have seen, this graphic from the Pew Research Center going around that lists all of the political typologies. And you see, there's not even a plurality on the left or on the right. You've got the tuned out right. You've got the religious right. You have the unconventional right. You have the leftist. Right. You've got so many offshoots of both parties. And so going back to the campaign finance decision, what it does is embolden political parties to take a lot of money from billionaires that can't donate directly to candidates because of existing candidate contribution limits that are very low. They're $3,500 as opposed to $44,000 that you can donate to a party. So would you eliminate the coordination limits, which allows the party to coordinate with the candidate in terms of directing where the money will be spent, the ads, the neighborhoods you're going to leaflet in, all of that stuff. When a billionaire can circumvent the candidate contribution limit, you're effectively creating a system where the Democrats and the Republicans will solicit funds from billionaires and trillionaires. And those billionaires and trillionaires will say, hey, I just wrote you a really nice $44,000 check. Can we get coffee to talk about it? And maybe in the coffee, they'll say, I really like Tellerico. I really, really like Tellerico. Can you carry that message to, the leader of the DNC? And so, that money will then be spent towards that candidate. And that candidate will then likely feel some sort of obligation towards the interests of the corporation or the billionaire. So the Supreme Court is emboldening political parties against a backdrop in which people do not believe in them. People do not align with the main tenets of either party. And increasingly, we're supporting fringe candidates from fringe parties that don't necessarily have platforms. So it's deeply troubling in that respect. And, another thing I'll say about this is, the campaign finance case actually started with a challenge by J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance challenged the coordinated spending limits between the party and the candidate. And in recent news cycles, J.D. Vance has said, Watergate wouldn't have lasted 2 hours, in today's news cycle.
Yeah.
Well, campaign finance laws came from Watergate. They came from Watergate because in the course of the investigation, Congress found that Nixon said to the dairy lobby, to the dairy manufacturers, basically that unless you give money to my reelection campaign, I will not support increased subsidies for dairy. In discovering that, Congress said we can't have this kind of quid pro quo, this kind of pay to play. We should criminalize this. And that's the origin of coordinated spending limits. And so there is great irony in, in J.D. Vance making those remarks and the Supreme Court emboldening political parties in the way that they have now. I guess one last thing I'll say about that is my initial thought on the campaign finance case was, who cares if the party coordinates with the candidate? You know what I mean? They're doing it already. It's not a big deal. Perhaps this will just make it easier for parties to support the candidates that they like and that they want. But I thought of Todd Akin, right? I don't know if you all remember Todd Akin, the candidate from Mississippi, the Mississippi Senate. He made a crazy comment about legitimate rape. That did a lot of damage to the Republicans' brand. And many leaders wanted him to drop out of the race, withdraw from the race. Those sorts of controversies raise, I think, very legitimate questions about whether parties ought to have more control over their candidates and whether campaign finance laws should support greater control, such that candidates can't necessarily go rogue with party money like Todd Akin did. But there's also a flip side of that that's really troubling. So I think people should think really carefully about that decision and perhaps read it themselves instead of sort of like falling into the camp of, oh, I like support the Republican side, I support the Democratic side. There's so much nuance here. And I think the bottom line is we are emboldening corporate interests, emboldening millionaires and billionaires like Peter Thiel, for example, to bankroll candidates who will not do what the voters in their jurisdiction want. And it won't matter because they'll win re-election anyway, likely based on the money that's being spent on the campaign.
The Supreme Court upholds the bans on transgender athletes in girls and women's sports. Not shocking coming from this court, especially from other cases that have been in front of them and how they've responded in their opinions. I saw some talk about that these cases should not have even been brought. And I think one of the athletes tried to get her case dismissed because she didn't want it heard in front of the court because of a decision like this. Even though it's not shocking that this is how the court ruled and they voted along the party lines, what does this say? And I guess in the bigger message, how important is it now that since it's up to the states to decide if they're going to ban transgender athletes in girls and women's sports, the voting is on the state level since they'll be making those decisions?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about the statutory Title IX law behind the court's decision. I also didn't read the particular decision, but I will say that this sort of trend of leaving it up to the states to decide the scope of our fundamental rights and our protections under the law for discrimination that is based on, what protected statuses, that's troubling to me. That in one state, you'll be allowed to do X, but the neighboring state, you won't be allowed to do X. One thing about the Constitution is that for identities that are sort of inherent, that can't be changed, and I understand there's some debate about the nature of transgenderness, but there are factors that courts use to determine whether someone should have heightened protection under the law.
Right.
And a number of those factors, if you apply them to transgender people, sort of point towards giving them heightened protection under the law. So allowing states to discriminate in certain ways, it's ultimately troubling. And I think that trans people have been scapegoats for so much, and they have been used as a political wedge tool. And much of the court's opinions around them prior to the case just decided, have not been great. I'm troubled by this idea that we will allow vulnerable people to be subject to the whims of political majorities. I think it's anti-American, and I just think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Last question for me. I have a comment, and this comment is about you later. But last question from me is, how fragile is settled case law? Like settled constitutional law, how fragile is that? Like, it seems that we are going to be reasserting and fighting for laws that, like Kavanaugh and all of these people, when he was being confirmed, the confirmation hearings, they asked him directly about Roe, settled case law. Settled case law is the stuff that they would say. Just lied, biding their time until they fundamentally reshaped what people like myself believe is a very important freedom for the women they share their communities with. Everything seems to be up for grabs for the court at all times. What rights constitutionally are settled? Are we going to fight for not just procuring more rights, expanding rights? Are we going to fight for our basic rights every single generation based upon the whims of the court?
I think the latter. You're going to have to fight for your rights that aren't specifically articulated in the Bill of Rights is probably what Justice Thomas would tell you, which is crazy, right? Like this idea that, the court in the 1970s, which established many of the rights that we think of when we think of the Constitution, the right to abortion, the right to privacy, the right to being equally represented, the right to not have your vote diminished, all of those rights, they're being chipped away at because the conservative right doesn't believe they're textualist or originalist, meaning that they're not articulated in the Constitution with any specificity. They were not intended to be in the Constitution with any specificity. And unless the history and tradition of the United States supports a right, clearly supports a right, you're just not going to have it. So at this point, we have effectively a constitution that is frozen in time, which is actually what many people want, and to enlarge the rights that people think that they should have, that prior courts thought we should have. We have to just amend the Constitution, which, like, by the way, is the oldest constitution of any modern democracy, and the average length of a constitution is 19 years. So in many senses, we're at a very existential point where prior precedent is completely being threatened. And I don't believe anyone should feel certain about anything with the court that we have right now.
How does it feel to be a constitutional law professor right now, or even just someone who's dedicated their life to the law and, taken an oath and respected the system, when it seems like the highest court in the land is just, it just seems like a free-for-all?
Yeah, it's honestly really tough. It's tough to explain to students the Dobbs decision in a methodological manner, because you want to teach students to believe in the court, to believe that the people who are judges are doing the right thing. But at the same token, they swore with their right hands up, that Dobbs is settled precedent, that it wouldn't, or not Dobbs, excuse me, Roe was settled precedent, that it, was going to be upheld. And as soon as they were confirmed and they got through, they lied, right? Yeah. They overturned precedent. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to have faith in the court right now. But one thing that I do try to tell students is that the Supreme Court's Supreme Court. It's a political body. They are not above politics. We all know and have seen that since probably the 1980s. But one thing that gives me faith is lower courts. Lower court judges are speaking out. They are writing letters. They are writing decisions blasting the Supreme Court. They are disagreeing with Supreme Court precedent. They're changing Supreme Court tests because they don't believe that they're workable. And so long as we have integrity in that process, and also integrity in state courts, not everything is lost, right? But it is hard to say that it's not all just politics when in many senses it is, at least for SCOTUS.
Yeah.
Gotta abolish it. Listen, I want to say something. So in Washington Lee, I guess there was an article last year where you were asked about a book, podcast, TV show recommendation. And for podcast, you said Still Processing, hosted by Wesley Morris and Jenny Wortham. I first want to say shout out to Wesley Morris, a friend of mine, great guy. You said, though it's no longer airing, it offers a granular and academic perspective on culture, television, film, books, music, etc. Then you say, Higher Learning with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay is also great. Still Processing, Wesley Morris and Jenna, those are brilliant people, offers a granular and academic perspective on culture, television, film, books, music, etc. They're the smartest niggas out there, is basically what you said about them. Higher Learning with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay is also great. You care to address this? Explain yourself.
You know what? Yes, actually, because Still Processing is no longer on air, and things have changed in the podcast sphere. I do believe that this podcast is getting increasingly academic, increasingly political, increasingly touching. This podcast is an octopus. You touch culture, you touch politics, you touch on religion, you touch on the gender wars, everything. Culture, TV, everything is fair game. And so if I were to answer that question today, I would answer it differently.
I appreciate being in the same sentence as Still Processing, but thank you.
That's the difference between you and I. I'm not also great. No, I'm just Maureen. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Higher Learning. Thank you. We'll continue to bring you back as we monitor the court. I don't have any faith in the institution anymore. And I want to have a completely separate conversation with you about packing the court and about reforms and checks that can be made on the court, because I tend to believe now that the court is actually an enemy of the people and an enemy of progress. But I think that's for a more robust and bigger conversation with you, so you can maybe tell somebody like me that's a skeptic what the worth and utility of the Supreme Court is now.
Oh
Not
my
just
gosh.
now.
Imagine if you didn't have it.
But over time. Hey, look, once again, I could argue that besides the Warren Court, they've consistently ruled with power against the American people. I could argue that. I could argue that. But I would love to have you back to have that conversation. You game for that?
I'm absolutely game. I've got so many thoughts.
Oh, see? She's game for it. All right. Maureen, thank you for joining us on Higher Learning today.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Donnie, what should we do? What did you say?
You had a question.
You
instead of
teased
going out
something.
message.
Oh, I have a question. And it's kind of on the backs of the Barack Obama thing. America 250 is coming up. This is coming out on Friday. I think 4th of July is Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saturday. Are you proud to be an American?
Right now? No, because of what America represents.
Try to do this just for this exercise. In general, are
It
you
feels
proud to be an
embarrassing
American?
almost to say that right now.
In general, are you proud to be an American?
You're asking me to speak of it right now. I'm giving you my answer.
Okay. Ooh.
It feels embarrassing almost because of, I mean, like, we're just coming off a conversation of talking to Professor Edobor about decisions that are being made by the judicial branch that are personally and politically motivated, and and those decisions affect the rights of people in this very country, and want to shoo them out like they're garbage and like they're trash, when that isn't how I felt, like the country that I felt like I grew up in. So, or was raised in. Even maybe it was, but I just didn't realize it at the point. So right now it feels embarrassing to say that.
You guys, proud to be an American? How about this? Better question. Do you guys love America? Forget about proud, because you're right. Proud to be an American. Everybody, do you love America? Do you love the country?
That is such a loaded question.
Yeah, I feel like it's nuanced, because I've only ever experienced living in America. And I think there have been times, especially growing up as a kid, I enjoyed it. And I will say, as a kid, I would have said that I was proud. But understanding that being a proud American, especially in the context that it's spoken on today, is very much, and probably was before, based in white supremacy. So I don't think, but do I love being in America, or do I love, what was the question? Do I love America? I do think, I would say no in my current space that I'm in, but I do think it's a nuanced question. I think it's hard to have a complete answer on that, or I think there's levels to the answer.
There's levels to it, right? Because I'm proud to be Black, and I'm proud to be a Black American, because we're from here. I mean, we're born here, and there's culture here, and there's things that we represent and that we have contributed to society, whether they want to give that to us or not. And I'm proud of that. Like, I'm proud of, my lineage. I'm proud of, what it means for me to be a Black American. Despite the way that we are treated and recognized in this country, it doesn't take away my pride in being Black and from America. So I understand the loaded part of it. I don't want to take away from that. But as a country and what our country represents, why would I love that? So it's hard. What's your answer, Van?
I'm really.
What's your answer?
Wow. Whoa! Look at that. It's like
because I want to see if you can just like answer it. So
no, everybody.
Because I'm not trying to both side it.
Yeah. No, I get it. Donnie, are you proud? Love America?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. A little bit of what Rachel just said. Okay. Like, I'm proud and I love my experience, my personal experience as an American. Like, I love my experience having fish fries and barbecues. I love
somebody.
So we ain't trying to hear that shit, nigga.
Well, what happened? I muted. My audio went away.
Yeah. Somebody said,
America loving.
Oh, no.
One of your ancestors.
What I was saying is, I love my experience. Like, when I think of my experience being American, I do think about my experience with uncles and aunts, listening to like Maze and Frankie Beverly on the holidays. Like I take pride in the accomplishments of people that I personally admire in my life or outside of my life. Like, I think my personal experience as an American, I am proud of and I love. But if I'm talking about more like granularly or like, no. Looking at it from like an exterior, like a 30,000 foot level of being an American, like, of course, there's shame and disgust with our history and our interactions with other nations and countries. Like, yeah, of course. But when I'm thinking about myself, my experience, yes, very proud.
Bernard? Nice.
Like I said, it's like Rachel said, and Jade and Donnie. I mean, yes, it's pros and cons. I guess my experience. Damn, that is hard. Now I guess when you actually the mic.
Appreciate you, Bernard.
Jesus Christ.
Swing the mic, my nigga. Let's go ahead and get off the. I know Bernard's about to cry. Bernard, Bernard. But
no, there's I feel like America. We're on one country that has like a lot of opportunity. So we do have that. Yeah, we do have a lot of that. But
that's straight. That's awesome, dog. That's great. That's good shit, dog.
Good shit, right?
I know it's a tough question for Black people, right? I've been thinking about it. So you know what? You know why I say yes though?
Why?
I say yes because of. I think, obviously, it's you guys have all answered the question. It's not binary. The reason why I say yes though is because like the people that raised me up, just like you, same people. Mm-hmm. They put their salvation in America.
Yeah.
Like I was actually raised to be a patriot, which is an interesting thing about a Southern Black boy, is that, and by the way, I'm calling myself a boy at that time. Don't call me a boy from no Pitcher's Mounds or nowhere else. The interesting thing about a Southern Black boy is the people that raise you up, they make America superior to whiteness. They actually make America the antidote to whiteness. They think that the people that raised me thinks that the more American the country gets, the better off they'll be. Like they felt like the things that were holding them back was America actually not being the America that it says that it is. So in this idea is actually their salvation. So the reason why, rather than tear things apart from the inside, which Black Americans have never done, the reason why Black Americans have been revolutionaries and reformers is because there's obviously huge arguments and disagreements here with inside the Black intelligentsia. But I'll just talk to people I know. They believed that if their dreams were realized, that they would be better off. And they also believed something else, that I could realize them. They would look progressively at their lot and they would be like, every generation comes along and they're a little smarter than us, like Van, good with the words. Look at him. He hasn't experienced the same things we've experienced. He never experienced anyone being drug out of their home, lynched in front of their family. He's never really experienced going to the store and having someone say, Black people can't shop here. They believed that my life would be a realization of theirs. And that realization was America. And they believed in it in a way that it seeped off of them. They served. right? Like my family, they went into the military. Like my family went and became police officers. My family was like went and opened stores and did their part economically. I come from small business people. We have a cement finishing business as a family business, right? They believed in a lot of those things, right? They believed in all of them. All of them. They believed in it. They believed in it. And over time, they saw it bear fruit.
Yeah.
Then I think when I got out there, I think I dug a little deeper. And in digging deeper, I not only challenged the country, but I challenged those people. And especially when I was a younger man, I would sit down when I was talking to them and I would tell them why their dreams were wrong. I would sit in front of people who are dead now and I would look at them like they were weak. And I would tell them why their dreams were wrong, why the shit that they bled for and the shit that they like went through hell and high water, why that was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just getting emotional because all those people are dead now. But I wish I didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? I wish that like even at that point, I would have understood that their dream of America is not wrong. Like their want and their wish and even their existence inside of it, that's not wrong. But for me, now it feels like casting off the country is casting off them.
So interesting.
Clean it up when I was crying. I'm not crying on podcast.
No. Keep it in there, man. Because
clean it up.
When I listen to you say it, it's like I wouldn't have told them their dreams are wrong. And you're so right in what you're saying. And I also think of it as they had to be that way as a means of survival. And because of their sacrifice and what they gave to this country, what they gave of themselves in order to provide a better life for us, we have the freedom to question the systems that they had to walk through and survive through in order to give us the liberty to think, to recognize what was wrong. So I understand what you're saying. That's why it's like, it's so hard to answer the question because I am proud of where I come from. I'm proud of whose shoulders I stand on. I'm proud of what they built. And because of them, I'm able to exist the way that I do in this society. Now, that doesn't take away from the institution, like the institutionalized racism that exists within this country and how it was built and all of that. And we're never going to love that. But I love the people that I come from that are from this country.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, they are so American. This is the biggest thing. This is the last thing. This is the last thing I say. Man, these people, they are everything that made them, right? They are. Like the people that I'm talking about that I feel connected to, that I visit when I go back to Louisiana, even like, man, they are. I listen to all of these white people, and I'm going to say white people and not white supremacy because a lot of people that talk like this are white. And they like, you'll be listening to somebody. Mike Johnson, I'll give you an example. Mike Johnson he's talking about like, his experience here. And he goes, I'm the grandson of a guy that came over from Italy and started a small thing, but you're the grandson? You're the grandson. You, Speaker of the House, you're the grandson. Your grandfather immigrated here. I go to the back of Ventress Memorial where my father is buried. He's in the front. Recent addition to the club. I go to the back and there's slaves there. Who are you talking to? If you want to play that game, if you want to play the legacy American, if you want to play the people who you can't fuck with me. You can't. You can't. And those people, they had to believe. Like their lives went through so much trauma and turmoil, and they were telling me around. They were telling me what I was entitled to as an American. They were telling me how my life should be, and they were making sure that I could stand up, and they were making sure that I understood. And then at a part, I would just look at them and be like, "Y'all kind of stupid." I'll just be honest with you. Like I'd be like, you go off and you go to college and you visit a couple countries and you go. Like, hey man, the shit that y'all are talking about, this is not the actual shit. Like, have you read this? Have you been this? And they would just be like, keep on living. And now I'm in this situation where I no longer have grand designs of like what America could be and what it's going to be. I just want what they wanted. Like, I just want what they wanted. And I think that want is like the thing that orients my identity as an American. I think that want and that deference, like, is what orients it, because they never got it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like they never got it, and so I don't know. I've been looking at the America 250 thing and at all of this different stuff because I've been watching people like. The more I learn about these stories, I've been watching people talk about this stuff, and they talk about like what is an American, like what is an American. Nobody, to me, I don't even want to do that because I don't want to put hierarchy to it, but like the people that are, them people from Maryland, Louisiana, them people from Bachelor, from Watson, from Bunkie, from New Iberia, all of them people, them black people, that's American. Like them motherfuckers, that's American. They tilled the soil. They fought for it.
Yeah,
they died for it. They invested into it. They believed in it. They fucking earned it. They was fighting revolutionary wars in 1915, in 1925, in 1935, in 1965. Like, that's the shit that I'm talking about. So when I think about the country and my identity, I don't think about that flag or none of that other shit. I think about them. But still, though, we just into some fuck shit right now.
I was gonna say, so you gonna be decked out in your red, white, and blue, your sparklers, repping your 250.
No. I'm not gonna do that. But it's almost a search for patriotism as a Black American is it's one of them fucking things.
It's different for everybody, which says a lot. Which is so crazy to even say that on the heels of some of these Supreme Court decisions that came out. Patriotism is not a monolith, I guess, as we like to say.
Nuance. I think everybody here expressed a different version of it besides Bernard. I think everybody here was able to kind of
we said it all for him. We took the words out of his mouth.
Was able to kind of give us this really interesting treatise. Donnie talked about Frankie Beverly and Mays and all of that shit, and Jade, and obviously you, and then Bernard was like, shit, man.
He said it's already been said.
Bernard was like,
I know, everybody said it, man.
Bernard was like, nigga, I love to play video games.
You said he loved what?
To play video games.
Oh.
Bernard came through like, shit, nigga, I like streaming apps. All right, we got to get out of here. You guys go, go explore. Go. Where are you going for the thing?
I'm going to Texas.
Tejas?
Texas. Dallas, right outside of Dallas. Hanging with friends.
I take mushrooms every morning.
You took one today? That's why you cried.
The tearfulness is because I'm off the Lexapro.
Yeah, a lot of people can't cry on Lexapro. Most people cannot cry on Lexapro.
Lexapro made me into a fucking savage. I feel like Lexapro made me into really made me into my dad.
So how many gummies did you take today?
I say I took like 3.
When did you feel it? How many hours does it take?
So I took the gummies and then, like in the first 15 minutes of the Midnight Boys we did before this, I started to kind of feel it.
Yeah, empty stomach.
Empty stomach. I say this about the gummies, about the mushrooms, Matt. It doesn't cut down on the amount that I talk, which I would like.
No, it's not going to do that.
Well, it does help me pay attention better though.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it helps me because like it used to be before. I don't know if people could tell on the podcast. Like people would be talking, and I would be like, okay.
They could tell.
Okay.
We all could tell.
Okay.
See, for me,
I'm able to sit in the moment a little bit better.
I'd move, but Vyvanse helps me stay still.
You still on the Vyvanse?
Wait, sorry, I just saw somebody put this. Not Jade put this on there.
happened?
Wait, did you see President Trump talking to the AI version of Teddy Roosevelt?
No, what happened?
Did you see? Please,
Hold on,
just watch it. I've thrown this in last
Every
minute.
day a
Look.
president faces storms most people never see. Keep your nerve and remember the nation comes first. You get through. I know you know that feeling yourself.
Well, I appreciate those words.
Oh, nigga, bro, hold on, bro.
It's an honor to be with you today.
Bro, what? See, this is the type of shit. This is what we was just
saw
talking
this
about.
and I was like,
Bruh, Trump, bruh, y'all.
He said, "Thank you for those words." Why did they publish that?
What you?
Why would you post that?
I'll tell you why. Probably because he asked them to. The reason why
he has no idea who he's talking to.
Any sane person, if you ever watched Superman before, Superman be talking to his dead daddy, right? His daddy Jor-El comes down and it's like Superman have a whole because his daddy whatever. Superman like is Superman going nuts sometimes in Force South. No sane person would be like, we need to put this up of you talking to the AI, except for the fact that Trump went, I tell you what, Roosevelt really likes me. I could just tell. Like,
apparently they cut
me.
the video short because I guess it went on. Like he continued.
I bet it did.
He continued to talk.
He about to be talking to this nigga all the time.
He probably asked him a question, and when he didn't answer back, they were like, "We gotta go,
bro.
We gotta go.
You guys, guaranteed within 2 months, a strike inside of Iran, and Trump will say, Teddy Roosevelt told me to speak softly and walk with a big stick. And this is our big stick. He's about to be talking to this motherfucker.
Oh, he's going to call Teddy a friend. Teddy's
time.
A friend at this point.
Teddy's a friend.
Teddy likes
me.
Yeah.
Teddy,
I was talking to Teddy the other day, who really gave me some good advice.
I know this guy named Teddy. Teddy, you guys know Teddy? Teddy Roosevelt? Very
strong
guy.
Thinking of having him join the administration.
In the military, on Mount Rushmore. This is a class guy. The Teddy meme coin, all of this stuff. By the way, do you have crypto? Any of you guys have crypto?
No, I don't do it. I don't do what I don't understand.
You don't do what you don't understand.
Yeah, you have crypto?
Shit, you did white people.
Colombian. There's a culture there. There's a culture. That's all I'll say. There's a culture. I did quite enjoy going to Colombia. Okay, wait. Before we get out of here.
That Teddy shit fries.
I can't believe you just. I put it in the chat. I was like, we have to talk about this. Thank you for putting it in the rundown. Before we get out of here, Donnie couldn't find the words. But as Van brought up the great question, asking us, are you proud? What does it mean to you? It's 250 years. And I think that personally for me, when I have a birthday, I reflect. Like I think about the last year. I think about other birthdays. I think about where I am now. I think about where I want to go. It's a time of reflection. So as we're coming up on this 250 years, I think that we should all do that. We should reflect on where we are, what it means to us, where we want to go, just the current state of everything, like how things are affecting you, whether it be the economy, whether it be foreign relations, whether it be, certain institution, education, healthcare, all those things. And I want you to go out on these words. Republican Congressman Niels, I believe is how you say it. From Texas, my home state. He was asked about 4th of July and, of course, was asked about the state of Americans and where they are right now, and saying some Americans will experience a 4th at this 250th year mark in one way. And they asked him what he thought about it and how he would celebrate. And I want to go out on these encouraging words as we reflect on 250. This is where we are.
Congressman, real quick, how do House Republicans make the case that you're fighting for affordability when you go back to your districts?
Affordability? What are you talking about?
Well, affordability is the big...
I'm going to go there tomorrow. Over the 4th. I'm going to get me a couple big lobster tails. I'm going to get me some nice ribeyes. I'm going to sit in my backyard with my family, my neighbors. And we're going to be enjoying the 4th, celebrating 250 years, the birthday. We're going to be celebrating the greatest president in my lifetime, Donald J. Trump. Maybe watch some fireworks. Won't be up here. It's going to be too hot, right? And I'm in bed at 11 o'clock. I heard the fireworks ain't going off till 11 o'clock Eastern on the 4th of July. I probably have to sleep through that one. But listen, everybody understands you're going to see a little increase in energy prices because of Iran. I mean, come on, people aren't stupid. You realize that when you have a conflict with Iran. But I think in the end, this short-term increase in some of the costs of energy, gasoline and stuff, is temporary. But President Trump has made it very clear to these companies, don't be gouging, no price gouging.
Cut it off.
I mean, energy, what? Oil was at...
He said, fuck y'all, happy 4th.
Take think caps off, do not stop learning. What the fuck I got to say? She's right. Go, what the fuck? If you vote for that, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. She's right.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I cut it off, but he's asked about Americans living paycheck to paycheck, and he's like, you know what? They don't work as hard as me. He said, fuck y'all, happy 4th.
Happy 4th. Don't stop learning. Van Lathan.
Rachel Lindsay. Bye, guys.